And to further recognize veterans in our area, the Greater Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce's Military and Veterans Affairs Committee, in partnership with local veterans organizations, hosted a program at the Military Heritage Alliance this weekend. That service was led by retired Brigadier General Damian Donahoe, who served as an infantryman and a member of the Iowa National Guard. The program also included a mass colors presentation of flags, along with a performance from the American Legion Post 15 Men's Choir.
We celebrate Veterans Day for those of us who have served and those who are still serving, and then we want to remember all those who paid the supreme sacrifice that are no longer with us.
Several veterans were also honored with outstanding achievement awards as part of yesterday's program.